Video games, music, two things that when combined can create a beautiful sensory experience. A video game soundtrack can make a huge difference when it comes to the overall experience you have in a game, and I'm a firm believer that a great soundtrack can be the deciding factor between a good game and a great game. I'm also a firm believer that a truly great soundtrack is when you find yourself seeking it out when you're not even playing the game. Either way, there are some soundtracks so iconic that they just stick with you. So enough yapping. These are some game soundtracks that I think go way too hard. Me when I say the same thing that everybody's been saying for 14 years. Okay, I have to get the obvious ones out of the way, but guess what? It's because it's fucking true. This will always be one of my favorite games, and a huge part of that is just how great of a job this game does at completely ripping me out of the real world and putting me inside Tamriel. It really made me feel like I'm the Dragonborn, you know? I was so invested when I first played this game that real life became the game. Whenever I was not playing Skyrim, I was thinking about playing Skyrim, and that's thanks to a ton of aspects of this game. The world, the sound design, not the combat, but most importantly, the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack. There are a few soundtracks so distinct that they have transcended the game, and I would say the biggest ones that have done that are Minecraft and Skyrim. From the first moment you open the game and get hit immediately with the and the stuff that will play when you're just walking around the world is so atmospheric and just magical sounding that you could forget just how janky and kind of empty a lot of the world was. It would really naturally transition to being like peaceful Hobbit exploring the Shire vibes to intense, holy shit, that dragon saw me, I'm gonna die. And whenever I decide to revisit this game and go for another playthrough, I'm always instantly punched in the gut with that soundtrack and been reminded of this world that's just been sitting there while I've been gone. I don't know why, but this soundtrack just makes the game feel alive. But enough about things that are alive, let's talk about stuff that's dead. Okay, so if you don't know anything about this game, there's basically two versions. The original was this Flash game by the creator of Super Meat Boy that released on Steam and got pretty huge. Huge enough that he made the second version. Not a sequel, but literally a reimagining of the whole game. Shout out to Northern Lion, by the way, who I used to watch play the shit out of this game. Amazing game. One of the few games from like middle school that I still play pretty frequently. All this to say, the soundtrack to both versions slap. It ranges from this pretty mystical sounding electronic stuff to more intense kind of metal-y songs. A lot of which have these really unsettling choir vocals throughout that really drive in the overarching theme of religion in this game, which always kind of tend to invoke that spooky demon vibe. The soundtrack to this game is a big reason why I think games can be a great segue into appreciating genres you might not otherwise, because there's a lot of metal infused into this soundtrack, and as someone that has a really hard time getting into a lot of metal, it was one of my first times finding myself really enjoying it. What was that? Did you hear that? I don't know if I'm having an audio issue or what. I could have swore I just heard Jack Black.
This is Minecraft.
This had to be here. It might sound like a basic choice, but once again, it's because it's true. This soundtrack is incredible. I don't know if this puts me in Unk status, if I'm not already there, but I was around when the Minecraft Alpha came out, back when there was literally just wood and dirt, and I remember vividly hearing my friends rant about this game in band class and thinking, that sounds neat, but how can something that simple be that good? Let me tell you, that question left my brain the second I was chopping trees down and this came on. A soundtrack in a game like Minecraft is so important. Without it, there is literally no vibe. The game has no aura. See, I'm not that old, but with it, the game can become beautiful and sometimes horrifying. This soundtrack is an album that I would genuinely recommend to anyone that's into ambient kind of stuff, because it's so good. It genuinely compares with the best of that genre. I don't have a clever segue thought out for this one, but real ones know how crazy the Plants vs. Zombies soundtrack went. If you thought the Minecraft soundtrack gave that game aura, this game is literally just collecting sun from sunflowers to grow other little plants that kill all the zombies trying to get into your house. It's a very simple game, which starts off pretty mellow and slow in the earlier levels, and then gradually gets more intense later on. And I always thought it was pretty interesting how eerie this soundtrack can be compared to how silly and bubbly the game is. I mean, yeah, it's about zombies actively trying to eat you. No! But like, they're silly zombies. There's a friggin' Michael Jackson zombie in this game that moonwalks. Sorry, not actual Michael Jackson. That's it's a coincidence. And there's this crazy, wacky dude that sells you stuff and speaks gibberish. I don't know if it's just a mental thing because of the time period and how young I was when I played this game, but in my brain, this soundtrack is segmented into the same compartment as Bejeweled. They're not very similar. They just have that old PC game aura to them that these dang kids playing Fortnite on their iPads will never understand. This is my favorite soundtrack from a pure listening standpoint, meaning that this is one of the few, if not the only one, that I have looked up to casually listen to as music. You might be thinking, why two? The first one's music must suck. No, they're both fantastic. This one's just better. This game had a lot more complicated level design than the first, and with that, a slightly more complicated soundtrack too. Complicated in a good way. This game is about bloodlust, darkness, and psychosis, so it needed a soundtrack that conveys that. What is the perfect soundtrack to do that with? I'll give you a second to think it over. Synthwave. I mean, the game takes place in Miami. What'd you expect? This soundtrack is all synthwave. You might call some of it vaporwave, I'm not sure, but it's very repetitive, hypnotic beats that really complement the dark, psychedelic vibe of the game, and also really help the fact that you will be having to replay the same levels over and over by kind of putting you in a trance. There's something about it that just makes me okay with dying over and over. I honestly think I'd have an easier time getting into Souls games if they had a soundtrack like Hotline Miami. This is a game I played pretty recently, so it's kind of the freshest in my head. If you don't know this game, it's very simple to explain. You roll around a ball. That's it. It's fantastic. You pick up more and more stuff and get bigger and bigger until you eventually get so big that you're picking up stuff like animals and people. It's one of those super simple concepts that's just so satisfying to my little monkey brain. The soundtrack is largely electronic, with a lot of real instruments in there too that give it this kind of organic, upbeat feel. There's this really nice singing in a lot of the tracks too, and some pretty out there vocal samples. It's in Japanese, so I don't know what they're saying, but I'd assume it's something to do with rolling a ball. This is one of the most utterly upbeat and groovy things I think you can possibly submit your ears to, and makes the already insanely satisfying task of rolling around a ball that much better. There's a lot of games in here that, as much as I love the soundtrack, I'll still put on my own music while playing sometimes, but with Katamari, I can't. It has to be illegal to play this game without the soundtrack. It's that amazing. Okay, I knew there were going to be a good amount of great soundtracks that I just can't speak that much on because I either haven't played the games or it's just been way too long. So here's a few that you guys commented that I agree are great. Persona 5, or the Persona series. This is one that I've seen a lot of people comment before that I need to check out. So even though I haven't played the games, I've looked into it and it is really good. A lot of it's got this like bossa nova kind of jazzy vibe and it's made me want to play the games. So it's that good. Half-Life 2, Yeah, yes, 100% yes. I didn't mention this one just because it's been so long since I played the game, but it's pretty similar to Skyrim for me, where you hear the music and it just instantly takes you back into this fully fleshed out world. It's great. Outer Wilds, incredible freaking game that I still haven't beat, but the soundtrack is so good. For a space game like this, you usually expect it to be a little more electronic focused, but a lot of this has like indie folk elements in it that really drive in that emotional kind of thought-provoking feeling the game gives you. Any Sonic soundtrack, yes. I mean, when you're going that fast, the music has to be good. Imagine playing Sonic and there's bossa nova playing, specifically Sonic Adventure 2. That opening track when you're grinding down the street. Don't get me started. That's the video. I know there's a ton of insane soundtracks that I didn't go over and a lot more niche ones, but I'm sure I'll make another video on this subject in the future. So I had to go over my absolute favorites before anything. Thanks for watching. I have new merch, which is very cool. People are saying it's the coolest. I heard them saying that. And join my Discord if you want to. It's fun in there. We have fun. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like. And if you really like the video, hit the subscribe button, please. I love you. Bye.